Hello, everyone. This is your host, Susan Rosen. And my guest today is, and I'm probably going to bungle this one as well, Shivani Gupta. Yes? All right. Okay. And Shivani's an expert in putting Eastern and Western practices together. And I'm going to let her introduce herself because I'm sure she can do a much better job than I would. So, Shivani, welcome.
Thank
And
you.
tell us a little something about yourself.
Sure. So I am an Ayurvedic practitioner. I have been a passionate follower and student basically of Ayurveda for the last 20 years. And I'm passionate about sharing the message and the tools and the golden nuggets from Ayurveda with the world in a way that we can utilize. And so I did my master's in Ayurvedic sciences. I did my PhD on turmeric, the spice, and how turmeric can impact our lives. And then I was so passionate about it that I ended up building an entire supplement line to help people with pain and inflammation. So I've just been on that journey of pulling the super spices and herbs from Ayurveda and bringing it into a form we can utilize. And so my product line is mainly carried in doctors' offices. Now I'm inventing teas that we can use for sleep and different
Ah,
things. And, I've been doing that for 7 years now. So I do that and I work with clients one-on-one to address issues like joint pain and inflammation and gut health and sleep issues. Because Ayurveda has so much wisdom that we can use for those different conditions and ailments and things that we suffer from.
wow, that's neat. So why don't you give us a little intro on Ayurveda and
Sure.
what it is, because I'm sure that most people are probably familiar with the name, right? Because they see
Yes.
it, but I'm not sure how many people actually know what it is.
Sure. So Ayurveda is a sister science to yoga, and we've all heard of yoga. And so if you can imagine, yoga is a very spiritual practice. It's about bringing you into alignment. There's many aspects of yoga that are detoxifying and purifying and strengthening and good for our health. So as
Mm-hmm.
a sister science, Ayurveda is really the same philosophies and principles and ideas from yoga, but what you do is you take that science and that wisdom and you take it off the mat and into your real life, or into the rest of your life. And so within Ayurveda, Ayurveda means the science of life. It's a preventive lifestyle that we can all lead every single day that gives us things like longevity, that gives us vibrant health. And Ayurveda is a system of medicine from India that's over 5,000 years old, and it
Wow.
encompasses things like detoxification, nutrition, circadian rhythm, a series of self-care rituals that are very detoxifying. It encompasses an entire way of life. So you can run your life according to this rhythm. And my belief is that if we do that, we can all of a sudden really relieve ourselves of a lot of the ailments and issues that we call aging.
Hmm.
Like a lot of people around me are like, oh, that's me aging. That's me aging. And I'm like, no, no, actually, a long time ago, we used to stay young and youthful and vibrant. It's our actions in modern day society that are taking that away from us. And we need to be conscious of it and really consciously, intentionally build our lives so that we can keep our strength and vibrancy for longer. And then the end of life isn't as much about disease management and being in and out of doctor's offices and taking 10 to 12 different, pharmaceutical drugs that are causing all sorts of side effects. Like, how do we walk towards that door of whatever the end of our life is going to be, maybe 100 years old, but feeling amazing instead of, having retirement be all that stuff, which is what I've seen in my family history.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. I think that that's something that a lot of people would totally agree with and say, "Oh yeah, yeah, me," right? But then they don't know what to do about it or where to go or who to talk to or any of that. So if someone, for instance, if someone found you on my podcast, of course, um, and wanted to learn more about it and how it it would affect them, right? Or how they could use it. What would kind of be the process or the I can't think of what the right word is, but that seems my problem. um, that you would walk them through in order to kind of figure out what they needed and how to bring them back to health.
Sure. I have two ways. One is on my website, shivanigupta.com. I have a dosha quiz and I have a 7-day inflammation challenge. And I have a lot of things, a sleep guide, a lot of different things that I've built so that if people are just wanting a taste of what it is that I teach, then they can download that guide or they can do that 7-day challenge. And those are some good initial steps to kind of understand, hey, do I even want to work with this person? Do I even believe in all these things she's talking about? Am I willing to commit to this level of work that she would talk about with me? And so I kind of have all those things readily available. And then beyond that, people are usually like, oh my gosh, you knew exactly how I am. You knew my imbalances and you knew my problems and you haven't even talked to me yet. Let's schedule a call. And so then I like to sit down with people and do a private one-on-one consultation and say, okay, let's talk. What is your family history? What has been going on? Oh, you have arthritis? When did that start? Oh, you have gut issues? When did that start? Like, I really like to understand the journey from childhood and when were those points at which we had maybe traumas or we had health traumas or things that caused switches. One thing I teach is a lot of times in our youth, we have moments like in college or whenever, when we switch on all the switches of inflammation in the body. And when did we ever take the time to do a profound detox, an Ayurvedic detox, and switch those off? Because it's that inflammation that is causing chronic, low-grade, persistent inflammation in the body. It's growing and growing over time, kind of like a house fire that's just not caught yet. And then all of a sudden, boom, we're dealing with all the after effects. And that's what I see in a lot of people in their 50s and 60s. They're like, I don't know where this came from. And I'm like, well, if we really peel back the onion and look back, did you have a surgery where you took high dose antibiotics? Did you have an issue where you were very sick for a period of time? And then how long did it take you to get back on the horse with your health habits? How much movement have we kept in our lives? What is your sleep pattern like? So I can kind of take each individual and deep dive into that and quickly, like I'm kind of like intuitive when it comes to understanding, okay, this is the problem. Okay, this is the solution. Like, I'll give you an example. I met a client last week. She had been kind of following my work for years. And she was like, I really need to meet with you. We sat down, we talked about everything. And I realized she had shoulder pain, then horrible plantar fasciitis that never got diagnosed. She had a hip pain, so she couldn't work out. But she was an active person. She wanted to do yoga. She wanted to work out and do all these things. And she really felt frustrated. And I said, well, I make something called turmeric golden inflammation relief. Everyone takes that already for their joint pain, but I don't like to just stop there. Let's have the conversation of what else is going on. And after hearing her story of how many things were a problem, I said, I think you kind of have I called it Tin Man syndrome. You know the Tin Man in Wizard of Oz? If you can imagine him, if you didn't give him oilation or oil into his joints, what would happen? All the joints would dry out and he'd say, oh, this hurts. And then he'd say, oh, that hurts. Oh, that hurts. I said, it's a very funny name to call something and I've never heard it in my life. But as we're sitting here talking, that's the picture I'm seeing in front of me where you keep going to orthopedics trying to get a solution. No one's giving you a solution. They just keep injecting things. Why don't we take the whole body and bring oilation through the internal system, through the gut, and through Ayurvedic self-care, placing oil onto the joints and into the joints. And I said, I want you to call me in 4 weeks and let me know how my plan works. And I already know, like I'm thinking of her every morning and I'm like, I already know what this is going to do once we bring blood flow, lymphatic flow into all those different joint areas. She doesn't need to be a Tin Man syndrome. She can be like a glorious, vibrant, healthy, flexible woman again. And she's like, yeah, I'm past 60, but I wanted to feel amazing till the end, but I keep having these setbacks. And so that's what I find beautiful about Ayurveda is our goal is to show everyone how to live a lifestyle. And once you live it, you've got the toolkit. We don't need to keep working together. You get to just apply it and keep feeling better and better over time.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, and and obviously if something comes up that changes that, then
And we can talk
she
again.
gives you a call and move on to whatever the next thing is to keep that health.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can excuse me, I can appreciate that. Well, I'll have to go up onto your website and take some of your little tests and quizzes.
Yeah, I post a lot of videos and things like that. My goal is to show us
Uh-huh.
all that if we improve sleep, if we improve our mobility, whether it's
Mm.
walking and running and jogging or yoga,
Uh-huh.
Pilates, whatever it is we choose to do that we love, Zumba. If people don't love to work out,
Uh-huh.
I'm like, find something. And Ayurveda teaches that our whole job is to be one with nature. And if we're out of balance with nature, we're constantly going to feel out of balance. And so I teach people about their individual mind body constitution, which is your dosha. And people are one of the three main dosha types. And once they understand which one they are, that can be a big driving force in terms of showing you how to live your life in balance with yourself. So Vata people tend to be dried out. This client who I met was a bit dried out. I was like, yeah, I already know your type. I got you. Then there's the Pitta body type. Pittas are fire. And so they're kind of in the middle. So they need to cool themselves down constantly. Then there's a
Mm.
Kapha body type. Kaphas are a little heavier and of the earth. They tend to need a little push to get moving for the day, or they tend to fall into depression. The first group tends towards
Mm.
anxiety. The middle group tends towards overwhelm. So having these understandings of ourselves really
Uh-huh.
help us have like a totally different toolkit in life to understand how to manage our lives. So in my case, I already know I have a horrible family history of diabetes,
Mm.
big tendency towards obesity in my family, big tendency towards getting overwhelmed and burnt out and causing all sorts of diseases. So I look at that and say, okay, well, I'm in my 40s. I better have like a game plan. So 50 to 75 and 75 to 100 is awesome and not going to look like what it did for my family. My family ended up strokes, heart attacks, amputations of legs due to
Oh.
diabetes and neuropathy,
Mhm.
just really horrible end of life. And I was like, nope, I'm not signing up for that. I have to find a different way forward for my own parents, for myself, and then teach that to my own children so we don't keep, perpetuating the cycle forward
Yeah.
generation after generation. And so from Ayurveda, I literally take that stack of tools I'm telling you about: sleep, movement, being one with nature, living according to my dosha, eating well. I don't believe in eating perfectly, but I think how we eat and how we choose to nourish the body through each season with seasonality in mind can be very
Mm.
profound. I add detoxification rituals annually or seasonally based on what's going on in my body. And then I add great supplementations, herbs, teas, and spices. And I use those
Mm.
like superfoods. So to me, people talk about superfoods all the time. And when I looked at them, I was like, oh, they're just potent antioxidants and potent immune supports. We have that in Ayurveda. So that's why I jumped into those spices and foods, because I was like, I need a potent, high quality form of turmeric and things that can create a profound shift in my life, a profound shift
Mhm.
in my inflammation if I want to prevent all this family history stuff that I saw going
Oh yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. Absolutely. Well, I'm impressed.
on.
I always find it so interesting to listen to people's stories and how they ended up doing what they're doing and where they are.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And so I mean that's why I love doing the podcast, is because I get to talk to all these different people and learn
Yeah.
all these different things, and different lives. So, and I love learning more about Ayurveda. I mean, it's just, I mentioned that earlier, just been around it for so long, but never never got into it. So I was always wondering, oh, okay, so what exactly is it?
Yeah, it's complex. It's an entire system of medicine. Like I have the
Yeah.
original Sanskrit textbooks in my home. And
Wow.
every time I want to spend like a little time, I open it and I'm like, oh my God, it's so vast. They had solutions for everything. It's kind of like an original system of medicine. It talked about surgery, it talked about enemas, it talked about every disease that could happen in the body and solutions for it. So it's pretty vast. And as a practitioner, our job is to sit down, help people understand their mind body constitution, their imbalances, show them
Right.
how to apply the lifestyle. And typically, how are we going to show you how to apply the lifestyle is how most of what I see in functional medicine and modern day wellness people are talking about. They're like, oh, you need to try tongue scraping. Oh, we need to do dry brushing. So a lot of ancient practices are actually becoming part of the current vernacular. And part of my job is really to show people this is Ayurvedic medicine. Like, let's give credit to Ayurveda as being the source of this wisdom and the original source that said that this is self-care for medicinal purposes. This is self-care for longevity, for wellness, for all of that. And so
Hmm.
a few easy tips for your audience, just because I like to leave people with things that are really
Yeah.
tangible. One tool that we love from Ayurveda is a tongue scraper. So do you have a tongue scraper? Do you use a metal one or a different kind?
It's plastic.
Okay. So in Ayurveda, we are big fans of a metal tongue scraper, and we want
Okay.
people to use preferably copper because it's antibacterial and has,
Mm.
self-cleaning properties in a sense. But I
Hmm.
encourage everyone to take that metal tongue scraper, could be steel as well, and scrape the tongue gently 7 to 14 times every morning. And then you rinse your tongue cleaner and you put it back. But that tongue scraping action that we do helps to gently detoxify the body. All the organs of the body are reflected on the tongue. So as you're scraping the tongue gently, you're detoxing every organ. And if we have a lot of white film on the tongue or any serrations or redness, that's just an indication of things that are inflamed or problematic or congested
Mm.
in the body. What we're also doing is you're going to improve your taste buds. So when you taste your food, you'll enjoy it more and thus you'll eat the right proportions. It's also good for overall oral health as well. But I just love it as a self-care ritual. It also ignites digestive fire. And a big
Mm.
focus of ours in Ayurveda is digestion. Are we going to the bathroom every day? Are we having bowel movements every day? Are we really keeping a digestive fire that's strong? That is our metabolism. That is how we're going to clear all the toxins out of the body and stay healthiest. So a tongue scraper is a very easy, simple self-care act. It takes 5 seconds. Once you own one, you own it for
Uh-huh.
life. And you can do it every single morning.
Ah, interesting. Okay. Yeah. I've been doing it with this, what is it, an ulet, I think it's called, or something.
Okay. Good to do
So the
something better than
plastic.
nothing, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I do it morning and night. So
Good.
yeah. And mostly, to stop getting cavities and all that kind of stuff is
Sure.
what got
Yeah,
me
very good.
started.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, well that's good. I'll go get one for my husband and I.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds good. So excuse me. Sorry. The if someone came to you, um, what is the process that you would go through, you know,
Sure.
to
So
talk to
basic,
them?
yeah. So basically, I start with a dosha quiz. I want to understand what
Okay.
is their mind body constitution. I also have like a family history form, and I want to understand in grand detail what they've
Mm,
done in the past and what they're currently taking and using so I can get that picture. And then I spend an hour with each person. I want to understand, like you, the background. It's how I come to
mhm,
understand the picture of what I'm going to make in terms of recommendations. And usually during that hour together, my whole being starts clarifying into a point what the main answer is going to be for this person to help solve the main issue that they're coming from, or they're coming with. So in the case of this woman who saw me, it was like, this is a Tin Man syndrome. She keeps having inflammation at different points. So what is the solution? And I want to get to a solution. I'm not here to I mean, I could work with people every single week for years, but I don't think that people need that. I think we need the toolkit and then we can apply it. And then sometimes we need accountability. I think we all need some accountability support. And so over time, now that I've done enough consultations, in 2020, I built like a 6-week program. It's 6 steps or
Oh,
6 weeks, however people want to do it. And it's called
uh-huh.
Fusionary Method. It's at fusionarymethod.com. And I built it because typically what I found is where people need help is fix sleep, fix digestive fire, fix diet, adjust how we're living according to the rhythm of nature, understanding their dosha in a profound way. And then a mindful medicine chest is the 6th step, understanding all the supplements and teas and elixirs that we can make for ourselves each and every day that'll help us ease and fix all those different issues I just named. And then I also teach the 12 self-care rituals from Ayurveda that we can do every day. So it's kind of a program that I built that's ready to go. And what I like to do is I do the consultation and I say, look, we can either do this one-on-one or I built this thing, go through it, the 6 steps. And then on the back end, once you've already applied all this, we're going to further customize. If you have any issues or questions, I'm here for you. We can do office hours calls. So I like that because that way I was able to give so much more. I was able to give worksheets and slides. I was able to show video, give music, kind of build the whole thing into like a Ayurveda immersion that's pretty 101 for me. But my friends are like, no, that's enough intensity. We don't want to do any more work in terms of our health than what that was. But it gives profound results. Like I've had at least 50 to 75 women who've taken that program. Their joint pain went away. Their menopause symptoms reduced. Their gut issues that were problematic forever got better. Constipation or bloating or those types of issues. Some of them had I had a woman, she had horrible hip pain, like debilitating. And she was in her 50s, vibrant, active. And really the hip pain was a horrible problem for her. So just doing the program, I have them do a detox in the program, optional. She was able to lose 10 pounds, went on to lose another 5. And it reduced the hip pain, of course, because any weight on our joints is irritating to the joints. I get that part. But she also was able to just create that oleation in the joints that Ayurveda gives us. We really teach about oleating the system from the inside and from the outside. And she got the relief. She was like, you changed my life. So I really like to show people that if you immerse into Ayurveda, whether you do it one-on-one or in my group program, I can show you how it can give you an entirely different approach to caring for self. I find as women, we've invested so much time into taking care of everyone else. And even as we're retiring, you were like, yeah, for me and my husband. I was like, she's so nice. She thinks of her husband. So it's one of those things where if it's our nature to constantly nurture and take care of everyone, when are we really taking the time to focus back in on our own health and build our toolkit again and feel so nourished and whole that we feel incredible? So that's my job, is to give everyone permission to do way more self-care, to really revamp our gut health so that that fire is supporting us. And as you know, gut-brain connection is integrated, right? So gut-brain axis, modern society is now calling it the gut-brain axis. Modern society calls it the gut microbiome. Modern science finally acknowledges that 70% plus of the lymphatic system is around the gut. And us as Ayurveda practitioners are like, yeah, we said the whole time that the gut was the key to all health, that gut is the center of everything. And so it's beautiful now that science is proving that to be true. We're like, thank you.
Yeah.
But you still aren't giving beautiful tools to people so that they can create a gut digestive fire that's ignited all day, that rests at night, that has oleation and smoothness to move everything through, that heals the gut lining. Over 50% of America has leaky gut. We're not addressing it properly at all. And so my goal is, how do I show people that we start there? We fix that gut first, then we get to go on and look at all the other stuff. And you
Okay.
talked about brain. I'm always worried about my brain. I'm like, why am I not processing at the right speed? How come I can't remember half the things I have to remember? It can't be mommy brain anymore. The kids are 9 and 12. So what's happening here? And I always laugh because I'm like, oh, you ate X, you ate gluten. You expected your brain to work well?
Um,
That's not how it works, and you know better. And so I know how to quickly reset the gut if I make those food choices to all of a sudden put myself back into healing and balanced, and then
mhm.
thus support brain health. But I think we're seeing a huge trend in brain health, mainly because we're so inflamed in the gut, inflamed in the brain. We're
Oh,
not getting the functionality we want out of
okay.
our brains.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's my problem. It's my brain,
Sure. How
you
much
know.
healthy fat do you eat in a day?
Um, well, I eat a lot of avocados
Okay.
and and that's for breakfast. And let's see, I have a lot of nuts and um I'm trying to think what's I eat yogurt
Okay.
and then usually have a salad that has tons of things, lots of different things in it, not just lettuce and stuff.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I don't stay away from fat,
Okay.
you know.
Good.
Um, I don't I don't necessarily prioritize it, but I just figure it's part of just try and I try and eat healthfully.
Sure. Sure.
Um, but yeah, I mean my skin, boy, my skin the last year or more has gotten really, really dry.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, the last couple of years, actually, I think I'm not sure whether well, I've hit my head a number of times, which is probably not good for it. But
Yeah.
I had COVID
Hmm.
really, really, really early before they were talking about COVID.
Sure.
Um, and
Did
I
you see a
noticed
shift?
after that, I'm sorry?
Yeah. You saw a shift after that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And then I remember, yeah, anyways, names
Yeah, I
are
mean,
the
I have
worst.
some theories as I watch the after effects of COVID and all of this.
Mhm.
I I think we'll learn over time the impact that it had on gut health, on the gut microbiome, and thus on the brain. I think we'll learn the impact it had on a lot of systems. But one thing I know, and of course, this is like hammer and nail. I come from a turmeric Ayurveda background, so I look at it from my lens. But I do see it as we know that inflammation is the root cause of so many issues and so many diseases. We know that COVID caused a cytokine storm in the body, and that was problematic. We know that it attacked the immune system, and we know the immune system resides in the gut. So, to me, I wish we had had more knowledge as it was unfolding as a country around the topic of gut health. And like literally COVID started and I piled up high dose, very high quality doctors level potent probiotics, vitamin
Uh-huh.
D, and my own turmeric supplement. We were actually running low on the product and I was like, oh, I got to save the life of my family. And I made everyone go on a D probiotic turmeric protocol. Why? Probiotic, we got to keep the gut healthy. We got to focus on
Hmm.
all those gut microbes that were deficient in half of them and got a lot of bad ones, not enough good ones. So I always like doing a stool test on my clients, getting the picture of what's going on,
Right.
and then coming up with the right 2 to 3 month protocol of probiotics alone just to
Mm.
repair the gut. Then I was like, vitamin D, so obvious. Why did we all not just get vitamin D levels to the right level? That was like a big topic that we didn't really discuss enough at the time. then turmeric. To me, turmeric is the most powerful anti-inflammatory, natural, well absorbed, well received by the body. Obviously, you know, I'm a big turmeric fan. I studied it and I think it can change so many aspects of our lives.
Mm.
Antioxidant, antibacterial, antifungal, in addition to being anti-inflammatory. And so what I've been able to prove over these 7 years is instead of taking other anti-inflammatories that have side effects, we can take a natural form of something that's so potently built to be an anti-inflammatory. And so if we can reduce that inflammation in the gut, reduce that inflammation in the system, then all of a sudden all the systems can come into alignment and start working properly. Gut, brain, gut, everything else. If we can reduce all the noise, then there's less traffic jams in the body. And so that's where I'm very passionate about, okay, let's tool by tool stack them on, fix each issue. And then, you know, it's not a magic pill. Nothing is in life. But can it be that as we add self-care tool one upon the other, or Ayurvedic tools one upon the other, that all of a sudden you'll say, hey, I can remember everyone's name, or hey, I feel completely different, or maybe I healed those issues from back when I had COVID. We're done with that phase and now we're moving forward in a new way. So that's always my goal, is to show people that Ayurveda has a ton of wisdom. And I have a ton of videos on YouTube where I talk about these topics. Like, I just want everyone to make the shifts. So like we talked about, as we enter each quarter, as we enter each phase, we feel so good, you know?
Oh yeah, no, that sounds, that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know just for myself, I just, from the time I can't even remember back, not having um you know, stomach, and see, now my words are not, take a drink of water.
My brain works way better when I drink water too. I've learned I'm a
It does, yes.
chronically dehydrated person.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure. For sure. Yeah. Anyways, what was I going to say? Oh, my whole gut area just was, you know, I was always constipated and growing up, just really, really bad. So, yeah, so it's interesting, as you say, you know, especially the last few years, right? There's been more and more and more information that's come out. And now all of a sudden it's very mainstream,
right?
With gut issues, which I find really fascinating.
Yeah.
Having been in the not mainstream health
For
side.
so long. Yeah.
Yeah, for so long.
I
Exactly.
completely feel that. I've been a weirdo my whole life with my
Yeah.
health opinions. And now all of a sudden we're thought of as like, oh, they knew. It's like, yeah, we knew and you made fun of us.
Yeah, right, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. In fact, it was interesting. You'll probably appreciate this. When I really was feeling really bad, which was before I found out I had all these allergies, that I developed all these allergies, and went to an allergist, um, being very familiar with allergists and allergies because my mother and all of my brothers have had allergies. My mother used to drag me along with her to go get her allergy shots. So I knew all about that, right?
Yeah.
And so I went to an allergist, and bless him, right? For We did all the tests and did skin tests and all that kind of stuff, came up with all the things I was allergic to. And it was really interesting because he said, okay, at the end of it, he said, now you know what you're allergic to. Stay away from it and have a good life. Bye.
Wow.
You know, yeah. I mean, he was um, because every allergist I'd ever known was like, oh, okay, now you have to come in once a week for a shot and da 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 da, da and you have to do this, and you know. And
Yeah.
he was like, no, I can't do anything for you. You don't have, number one, you don't have those kind of allergies. It's just food.
Okay.
Stay away from the food.
Wow.
You know.
Have you done a food intolerance test to look at what foods you're intolerant to in your system?
Um, I've only done the things of I did the actually I think I did do that once a long time ago.
It changes over time, but I do
Um,
ask my
right.
clients to do a food intolerance test because a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
women are like, I'm eating the same foods, but I keep gaining weight, or I'm eating
Mm-hmm.
healthy, but I don't feel good, or
Mm-hmm.
something is off in my hormones. I just don't understand. I'm like, okay, well, stool test will give you a lot of data on what's wrong. Like I just did a stool test on a chef
Mm-hmm.
and I was shocked for how healthy I perceive her to be and how well she eats and everything. And she's from the island, so she naturally treats every issue with like plants and herbs. Real serious gut issues that need to be addressed with a protocol. It was kind of shocking to me. So then I
Mm-hmm.
also reach into food intolerance tests because sometimes you can take one and you'll hear shocking news. Mine said I shouldn't eat black beans, and I'm from Texas. So I eat equal parts Indian food and equal parts Mexican food. So I was like, what are you saying to me right now? So for a couple months, I took kidney beans and we made refried beans fresh in my home
Uh-huh.
that tasted like Mexican refried beans. But I honored that that food was intolerant to my system for that period of time and I got off it. And I had just bought like a bottle of chlorophyll because I like to try every supplement and see what it does for me. Most of them do not much, but I like to
Yeah.
try them just in case there's something there. And
Yeah.
it said, don't
Yeah.
take these herbs, don't take these spices. I was very shocked that a food intolerance test can go into that detail. And so I do
Yeah.
recommend people take that and understand, like, hey, are we taking something that's causing the allergies? Because what I'm
Right.
seeing happen in our society is, and I wanted to write a book on it. I didn't a couple of years back.
Uh-huh.
I was going to call it the 5 A's because every household I find has autism, like every household that has children in this day and age,
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing in the children autism, allergies, ADHD, autoimmune conditions, and
Mm-hmm.
there was a fifth A. We'll call it the 4 A's for now. But every
Mm-hmm.
household, and I had written a book years ago called The Conscious Pregnancy. And in there, I taught how to have an Ayurvedic pregnancy, a healthier pregnancy, to really
Uh,
nourish ourselves during that time. Because I'm
yeah.
seeing women, my women in my age category, or really everyone 10 years younger than me now, is so I don't like the mindset around pregnancy. I think it's very like
Mm-hmm.
it takes a lot of the whole and nourished and loving aspects out. And I think it's why we're
Okay.
kind of producing this generation of not very Zen children. So I wrote the book so we'd birth healthy, happy, whole, organic Zen children who didn't then immediately manifest these types of diseases. It's just a theorem. I
Yeah.
can't prove my data to be set to be true until a lot of people buy that book, read it, and apply it, and let me know what the data
Yeah.
was. But I thought at least let me give the understanding of Ayurvedic pregnancy. And then now, as I'm looking, everyone comes to me and says, okay, I thought you were so hippie and weird in all that health stuff you do and the green juice you always drank, but now it's my kid. My kid has a problem. When it comes to my kid, I'll do anything. So then we can open up that
Uh,
conversation of, okay, let's
interesting.
talk about gut
Yeah.
health. Let's talk about diet. Let's talk about these allergies. So many kids with their eczema, their psoriasis, like horrible itching. And the mom's like, I've tried every cream. And I'm like, have you tried gut healing? Gut,
Right.
skin,
Did you
we
try
teach
from the inside instead of just putting stuff on
exactly.
it?
And so
Yeah.
it's horrible, but it's actually the best opportunity to have a conversation around, okay, let's try a new way. And that's usually when people find Ayurveda is when they're so desperate because they've tried everything else. They've tried like
Yeah.
chiropractic, acupuncture, naturopathic, homeopathic. They've tried every door. And I love those modalities. So I think they should work 90% of
Mhm.
the time. But if they
Mhm.
have not worked, then people are like, okay, let's talk about your weird green juice probiotic turmeric solutions. And I'm like, all right, let's talk. I'm happy to help. So yeah, with
Yeah.
allergies, I mean, we
Yeah.
really do look at that as gut. If you had allergy issues or
Yeah.
food intolerances, I like to look at, can we take a food intolerance test now, understand what those intolerances are in this moment for this
Right.
gut that you have now. Take yourself off
Right.
those foods for just
Right.
3 months and then do a retest and really
Yeah.
honor like holding that diet without those foods, but understanding how you feel. And then also
Yeah.
really approach oleation. So you said I eat healthy fats, but maybe take 3 months, especially because we're in the dry, cold winter right now and you're experiencing dryness. And so maybe taking a 3-month period and saying, okay, well, I'm going to focus on my omega-3s and oleation through food and see within a few weeks what that does for you. It'll help brain and it'll help gut and it'll help dryness.
Uh-huh. Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think, I take omega-3s? Yeah. No, that's a good thing. I am very aware of when foods don't agree with me.
Sure, I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of them don't.
Yeah, me neither.
Probably,
I can't eat gluten
yeah.
at all. I can feel
Yeah.
it. Sugar, I can feel it.
Yeah.
Alcohol certainly throws my system off big time. Dairy, I
Oh
can
yeah, no,
feel it with
don't do
dairy.
dairy. Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
still eat dairy, but it hurts.
Yeah, exactly. 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 That's why I take my extra digestion pills.
Exactly. Extra
Yeah.
enzymes to digest it. And you mentioned omega-3s. I think it's so important that we look at the quality of the supplements we're taking or going in and out with certain brands. Like, okay, I did this one for a while. Let me go try something else. Let me give a different quality is one way to look at it, or a different company's approach. In my case, so many people tell me that they've taken turmeric for decades and years. They're like, oh, I bought turmeric. I take it. I juice it. I do all these things. And I'm like, listen, just try mine. Try it once and you let me know. And they're like, oh my God, it's completely different. I'm like, yeah, there's a big difference between medical grade supplements built for doctors' offices and regular supplements that we buy at the store. And so that's a big message I like to share, even for myself. I'll buy different vitamin Ds at Whole Foods or different grocery stores and places.
Right.
And a lot of times my D level has not moved. Like I'm a 23 and I tell everyone we should be in the 80s in vitamin D levels. And I can't move off my number. So that's when I call on doctors who carry my product. And I'm like, hey, you're my top chiropractor. You're my top orthopedic, or you're my favorite functional medicine doctor. What are you seeing moves the blood work in terms of supplementation? I don't need to waste my time and my money and my effort and not get the result, you know? And so that's where I find, in my case, I obviously love what I created. I can move the needle with joint pain. That's where I win the most, or anyone who has any inflammation-based issue. But when I have an issue, I like to look around at all these doctors level supplement companies and say, okay, what is truly working for doctors? That's where I'm going to go invest and take something that'll work. Better to buy something that works and take it 1/4 of the year than to buy stuff that doesn't work and take it all year. It's just not doing the job.
I agree. I agree. I mean, and my husband's always so funny because he's like, he said, I'm taking way too many pills. Do we need to keep doing this?
I know it gets annoying. Even
It
for
does.
me,
It does.
I'm a
And it
supplement
gets
company owner,
expensive.
and even I get annoyed with how many vitamins I want to take in a day.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going down in price.
No, they're not. And so it's one of those things where you have to be selective. And to me, that's why I really kind of pare it down for people. I'm like, you know what? You're probably great on an omega, a D, a turmeric, and a probiotic. Like you've got it. You've got prevention down. And then we need to look at where are you deficient in vitamins and minerals. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. So is that the kind of thing that people can find from at least a start from some of the things on your website, or is that something they have to actually sit down with you about?
Usually they'd have to sit down with me for that level of detail. But on the website, as much as I could put there, I did in terms of videos that educate, quizzes and guides. Those are a good starting point. And then it's like, okay, well, I've started. I understand now. I understand how to feel better in the tools. But now I'd like to customize, and that's when we jump on a call.
Okay. 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 And I assume that you're part of the Zoom culture and can do things over Zoom, because
Yeah,
otherwise
as
you're very
needed.
limited to just your geographic area.
True. Yeah, I can do Zoom. I've done a lot of Zoom consultations through the pandemic. And then if
Mhm.
someone is local, I do make that effort to find a tea shop
Right.
near them so we can connect in person and
No,
have
and
that
that
experience.
and yeah, no, which makes a lot of sense. Which makes a lot of sense because sometimes even just touching people,
Yeah,
you can get a feel. Hardly
totally.
the, using that word, but um, yeah, it's a much different
Experience.
tactical.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Not to mention, I mean, we were having trouble with colors
Yeah.
earlier,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And if somebody's
Yeah.
camera's off or whatever,
Yeah.
and you think they've got,
See?
you know,
Right there. The color
yeah,
changes. Isn't that so funny?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that could really affect, some kind of a consultation,
True.
and
True.
you don't really think about it, right?
That's a good point, actually, because I'm going to base my dosha understanding and my understanding of their health based on the
Yeah,
color of their skin and the vibrancy that I'm seeing on camera. It's a good point.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You want it to be as real as possible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. So, okay, well, I think we probably should wrap this up. Otherwise, we could go on for a long time because we haven't even touched half of what we could talk about.
Sure.
So, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. Um, and I will make sure that you send me your website and all that. I think I have it in the information you sent before, but I'm not positive.
Yes.
And I will put that into the show notes so everybody who's watching who wants to get a hold of you and just to learn more about you, you can look in the show notes and you will find Dr. Gupta's um, information there. So you
Awesome.
can go out and get a hold of her. And, if you have also I can put in there particular things that you would like them to be sure and look for when they
Perfect.
go, you know.
Perfect. Yeah. I mean, my main two websites are shivanigupta.com, Shivani Gupta.com, and
Uh,
Fusionary Formulas, Fusionary
okay,
formulas.com. And then I'm on all the social media channels with those two names, but I'll send you all the links so you have them ready to go.
great. That would be a big help. Great. Okay.
Awesome. Well,
Well,
thank
thank
you so
you.
much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on and so much good information. Um, and I may reach out to you myself. So we shall see.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.